What a month to be a part of the Signum Workshop Patreon. 3 new heroes, 2 new factions, a bunch of spell cards, a bunch of support cards. It's a good one. Stay tuned. We'll go through each and every single one of these guys. So before I get into the characters and the heroes, I just want to first showcase something that comes along every single month, and it's a scenery piece that oftentimes fits into at least one of the factions that they're showcasing in that particular month's release. This month we have the Monster Wagon, which I just broke. I'll have to glue that piece back on, no big deal. So this is the Monster Wagon. I'll make sure to put a close-up 360 shot of this bad boy because the detail that went into this, just incredible. This is of all of the scenery pieces that we've had thus far, this is my favorite, just because they really put a lot of effort into this. You can see a lot of elements from previous months' models, but you know, putting that all together into something really cool like this, I mean, sure, it has nothing to do with the gameplay itself. But I tell you what, these are oftentimes the ones I'm looking forward to the most each month. So, yeah, that one's, what an excellent piece. Good job, Signum. So as I said in the intro, we actually have 2 brand new factions this month to the Signum universe, and that would be the Akari Spider Elves, as well as the Alliance of the Unicorn. Both of which are new clans that have some varying styles of gameplay if you're actually using them to play the game, and I think it'll definitely help open up the world a little bit more depending on the type of player that you want to play or the strategy you want to go into each and every game that you play, depending on which one of those factions that you choose. So I'm going to actually break this particular video up by the factions themselves. We actually have 4 different factions included this month, which is pretty cool. So I'm just gonna dive right into it. So the first one that we actually have is from a faction that's been focused through the last couple of months, and that's your Styx Undead Empire. This has to be definitely one of my top 5 Signum models thus far. This guy here is Vlad the Bloody Huntsman. This is just the coolest, model. 5 Hellhounds on a leash. Just a great model. I think it'll fit in really well with the last couple months releases of the Styx Undead Empire characters. One thing I've noticed about them is that pretty much all of the character bases are massive within the Styx Undead Empire. They take up a lot of space, which means you have to be very strategic with how you place them. You know, looking at this particular character, you think that he'd be incredibly strong, but you know, in reality, he has 1 attack, but he does have 5 health. He's also medium movement, so you're getting kind of a decent balance, but they aren't heavily weighed on one side or the other. But this is a very, very cool model, and I'm looking forward to doing a Let's Play now that we have a full set of the Styx Undead Empire characters, and filming that for you guys. That one will be really, really fun. So that's it. That's just kind of a little bonus for the Styx Undead Empire. So now we'll actually dive into a faction that's sort of been developing through the last few months. They started out as Dogs of War or Mercenaries, but they kind of were, I guess, classified as their own faction now, and that is your Monster Hunters. So the Monster Hunters themselves, I can name a couple: Alberto Suarez, Ezekiel, the Night's Watch, and then there's a few other ones. If you go back to my August video and look, that are now classified within this particular clan. Now, I'm not completely sure how that's going to work out as far as deck building, if they're still going to be considered mercenaries or not, so it's something I need to look into with Signum, but we'll have to take a look in and see what I can find out. But for now, we'll focus on a somewhat new faction. Again, that is the Guild of Monster Hunters. So again, this is semi-new. There's a few that mercenaries, the Dogs of War, that have fallen into this particular category through the last few months, such as like Ezekiel the Night's Watch. It's one of my favorites, as well as like Alberto Suarez. But now they have all been kind of filtered under their own faction. So I haven't spoken with Signum yet as far as how that's going to roll into the game. You know, if they're going to change the cards so that they are part of their own faction, or if the earlier ones will be maintained as mercenaries, or maybe the entire Guild of Monster Hunters will all be considered a mercenary. So you could theoretically build a deck of all Monster Hunters and mercenaries just like you would normally, or if you could put a Monster Hunter into a deck maybe with all of the factions, although that might be kind of strange. Maybe it's only certain factions, such as the Ska Guard, or maybe the Alliance of the Unicorn. Maybe something where it's not a monster-based faction, such as like the new Akari Spider Elves or the Styx Undead Empire. Especially when you take a look at Monster Hunter Wagon, there's elements from the past few months, but the heads in here and the arms sticking out. There's a big tongue sticking out of this side. Those are from previous models of the Styx Undead Empire. So I don't think you should be able to combine Monster Hunters with Styx Undead Empire. That wouldn't really make sense, just from a logistical standpoint, I suppose. So this month we actually have, I want to say, we'll call it 5. Yeah, we'll call it 5 characters and actually 1 hero. So just to highlight here, we have another set of 5 miniatures that come with interchangeable weapons. So, if you were to order these from Signum, order them from my Etsy store, they're placed in small bags, at which point you can mix and match up the weapons, the hats, however you choose. But they kind of do give you an idea with their cards as well as the pictures. I just set them up in their default configurations here. But those 5, they all have the exact same statistics, they all have the exact same abilities. It's just that you're allowed up to 6 of them within your deck. So kind of cool to help sort of build an army of, somewhat weak, but easily summon characters, since these guys really only take 2 particular buildings to be able to summon in. So in 5 turns, you could have, or if you strategize to be able to, untap buildings, you could, in a couple turns, you could have 5 or 6 of these guys out. So just depends on how you build your deck. So with the Akari Spider Elves this month, we did get a hero, so you can start right off and play this faction, which I really appreciate, that they did that this month. But this here is Gwendragon, the Queen of Sorrow. Phenomenally detailed, large hero, kind of like what we're accustomed to seeing, not like what we saw at the Master Hunter. But I'll tell you why I feel like the Akari Spider Elves are going to be more of a swarming style of gameplay versus something that you're going to just be able to do with a couple of characters. So something that I have not experienced in the game yet is an ability called Parasite. Something that Signum recently released to the game are minions, which minions are essentially they play the exact same as a character. However, they're summoned differently. Typically, they're summoned with a spell card or an ability. So in the terms of Parasite, she is a Parasite 4, which means that every single time that she kills a character, you summon 4 minions. Now, typically minions are fairly weak, 1 attack, 1 health, but there are a lot of characters in the game that are like that too. For example, we just got done talking about the monster hunters. The regular basic monster hunters, the set of 5, they're exactly the same. 1 health, 1 attack, medium movement. It's pretty common for a minion. But you think about that, you know, that adds up. If you want to take her and move her around and actually use her to attack, which some people really like to do that with their heroes, you could build up one heck of a Parasite army, depending on, you know, what Signum comes out with in terms of parasites for, you know, the Akari Spider Elves. So that's sort of how I'm gauging the feeling of this particular faction and how it's more than likely going to be played. But I could be completely wrong. But I feel like this is going to be one that's going to take quite a bit of strategy to play against to ensure that you know the abilities of your opponents, the Akari Spider Elves, to try and strategize accordingly. Because you don't want, you know, to get in a fight with something that's just gonna, if you lose, is gonna end up spawning a whole bunch of other, basically characters that you end up having to deal with later on. So that's pretty cool. Parasite is, I think it's gonna be an interesting mechanic for sure. So that's our hero for the Akari Spider Elves this month. And then we actually have a couple of characters as well. We have Nintel, the Priestess of Distortion. So that would be this one right here. Now, something that's interesting about the Akari Spider Elves, and obviously this makes sense, they all have 4 arms and 2 legs, essentially. So, I mean, not necessarily spider, we'd have 8, but they are an insect-based elvish population, it looks like. But, man, you know, the attention to detail on these, as always, Signum knocks it out of the park. And then we have another character for the Akari Spider Elves, and that's, I said I'm sorry, some of these names are going to be way off, but Cray Ardyn, Witch of the Cursed Forest. This is kind of interesting. They've done a couple of characters where they're actually juggling or levitating certain things. There's actually a character in the original set. I want to say that he's part of the Griffinian Empire that actually is... No, it wouldn't be, because he has cards, so he would be the Free City of Valor. That just kind of reminded me of Gambit in X-Men, but this is kind of that similar idea. But there's another character, very, very interesting, pretty fun to print and put together, for sure. And then we have Ga'aret the Crusher. That's this mean dude right here. Again, fairly good character, 2 damage, 4 health. So, you know, it takes a bit to summon him, 3 particular buildings, but that's a good, really, really good miniature to have, you know, in an army. And then we have Nair Tiz, the Akari Spearman. You know, this is a very strong character, 3 attack, 3 health. Really, really cool. I like this one a lot. And then that does it for the Akari Spider Elves. So now we'll move into the next faction, the Alliance of the Unicorn. Kind of reminding me a little bit of the Griffinian Empire, with a few more ranged characters, but that's sort of what it's kind of reminding me of, but a much better mix of different abilities and character types with the 5 that we have here. So I might as well just start off with the hero. Now you, again, similar to the Guild of Monster Hunters, you would think it would be one of these guys, but it's not. It's actually, again, a 32mm base. Small, just standard size, humanoid character. This is really, really cool. But this is Eridan the Hunter. So same stats as pretty much all of the heroes in the game. So 2 attack, medium moving distance, 15 health. So I want to say his special abilities are Fortitude, Sniper, as well as Pathfinder. So again, taking some of the more unique traits that you get that are only found in certain factions and moving them into one faction collectively. This is very, very good and allows for kind of a different strategy to the game. And I think that's the whole point of having these 11 different factions that we have now, is just trying to make sure that we can meet everybody's needs as far as what type of player you want to be. So moving into the characters, we'll start with the big boy here, Callian, the Captain of Steel Blades. Again, large character. I want to say it's a 50mm base. Beautiful bases this month. These are probably my favorite of all the bases, to be honest with you. These are just so cool. The amount of detail that goes into them between the foliage, flowers, mushrooms. There's even a couple of squirrels on them. It's really cool. This guy, just a big brute. 2 attack, 2 health. Be a good one to have in there. And then fairly unique to have I guess a pet, if we're talking, in a world of normal MMOs and whatnot. This is supposed to be a raccoon. It definitely looks like a pretty badass raccoon, let's be honest. But this is Esterin, the Animal Charmer. So again, similar statistics as Callian, the Captain of Steel Blade, but she is a 2 attack and 3 health. She also has some fairly useful abilities as well, so that'll be a good one to complete a deck here. And then we have 2 kind of smaller characters. We have Caltail, the Centennial Archer. So it's just a 1 attack, easy summon, 2 health, as well as Lindaris, the Knight of Early Spring. So this one is a very strong. So 3 attack, medium movement, 2 health, initiative, and veteran. So again, fairly easy to summon, considering there's only 2 buildings. I'd have to look at what they are, but there's only 2 buildings that you need to summon him. But again, pretty good stuff. Alright, that does it for the Signum Workshop November Patreon preview. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I will go ahead and flash up all of the additional cards that you're going to get this month if you become a member of the Patreon before the end of the month. The great thing about Signum Workshop is, they don't just give you the models. I've said this before. They are so much more than just, here's 16 or 17 miniatures. Sometimes not even. Sometimes just, here's 10 miniatures a month. Take your $10, print your miniatures, do whatever you want with them. They have a structured game, and they provide you with everything you need to play the game. When they give you new clans, they give you new buildings. They give you new terrains specific to that faction to use. They give you new spell cards every month. Even if they give you just existing factions within their world, they're still giving you new spell cards, new support cards, new relics, all kinds of unique things that just make this game continue to grow and just be better each and every single month for the same price as what you're getting for oftentimes inferior STLs. So even if you don't want to play the game, you just want to 3D print amazing miniatures to paint or to do whatever with, I don't see anything better. And then if you choose to, you can transition into the game and you have a lot of fun with it. It's pretty awesome. So one thing that I do plan on making a video, I have finally figured out how to print their cards to be pretty much 100% replicas as far as size and thickness to what Signum, Legends of Signum Games uses. I'm going to go ahead and make a video of exactly how I do that, because it took me quite a while, a lot of trial and error, and just finding the right tools to be able to do that. But as you can see, I got it pretty close. This is a Signum card printed from them. And this is a card that I had printed and then cut. So look forward to a video on that. Just kind of help you guys that are part of our Patreon or looking to be part of the Patreon just be able to make that game that much more legit by being able to mix in their cards with your own cards and make that seamless. So thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in a couple days with a gameplay video. I'm still working with Signum to try and get that ironed out. A gameplay video showcasing each and every single one of these miniatures. Since I have 4 separate factions here, I would expect to probably put out 2 separate videos showcasing as many of these new miniatures as I possibly can. So maybe we'll do a Guild of Monster Hunters versus the Styx Undead Empire, and then, you know, as the lore sort of lays out, which you can read a little bit more within our Patreon, they do that too. We can do the Akari Spider Elves versus the Alliance of the Unicorn. So look forward to that video as well. And I want to keep putting these guys up, so please like, subscribe, comment, so that we know exactly what it is that you guys want to see within these videos. And I'll be sure to make it happen. So thank you again, guys. We'll see you next time.